What is up? It's a Figure Hunter, and we're going to talk today about how to turn your Apple Watch into a heart rate variability tracking machine. With just a few adjustments and just turning some settings on, it'll actually begin to track about 10 times more measurements for heart rate variability versus the once every 2 to 3 hours that it's currently tracking. So if you like this review, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more. Now, what's the standard? You look at so many other watches on the market today and other devices. The Whoop device tracks your heart rate variability, which is commonly known as HRV, tracks it all night. The Polar device, through the nightly recharge, tracks your HRV all night. And Garmin actually tracks and shows you a chart of your HRV all night now on their newer watches, as well as tracks your HRV, converts it to a stress score, which flows into a body battery metric, actually 24/7. So Garmin currently has the most elaborate tracking of HRV, even if it's not directly displayed in the actual numbers that you get. But when you have the Apple Watch, you're dependent on whatever the device can pull for data to be able to use and analyze in third-party applications. And that's the bigger problem with the current setup with the Apple Watch. It's only taking a spot check very, very minimally every 2 to 3 hours, and a lot of the third-party applications actually can't use that little data to provide quality analysis. So with a couple of settings now, I'm getting 20 to 30 versus 2 to 3, 20 to 30 different measurements throughout a night's sleep. And now these other third-party apps like Training Today and Athlytic can do a much more thorough analysis of what your recovery is really looking like as it's seen in your heart rate variability from the last night as it compares to your baseline. So we're going to look at 3 simple things. Number 1, what settings do you need to turn on to start getting this higher level tracking? Number 2, what it looks like both in the Apple Health app as well as in some of these other third-party apps. And number 3, how it helps, as we've just sort of talked about. So with that, let's dive in. Okay, the easiest way to turn it on is just to go to your Apple Watch settings in the Watch app, and you scroll down to Heart. See it in the middle there under Health. You click into the Heart, and this is where you can kind of turn on notifications or tracking metrics. And you want to scroll down to the bottom, and you want to turn AFib history. So when you turn the AFib history on the first time, it's going to ask you if you've been diagnosed, and you want to say, yes, I have been diagnosed with AFib issues. Here's a simple article about it, but you can see that what you would actually see the first time you go in. So it says you must have a physician diagnosis. We're just going to ignore that. You must have the latest version of the Apple Watch. So here you'll be able to see like what you're going to see to be able to complete the turning on of the AFib tracking. So you can hit continue, and then it's going to ask you these few basic questions. You're going to say get started, date of birth, yes, you've been diagnosed, and then you could say continue and then say done. So then you have it fully set. And then when you go into Apple Health, you'll see a whole new field, not a whole new field, but actual bunch more data in the heart rate variability column. So you'll see all these little minor points. Now this looks like 10 points. Now previously, if you had ever looked here, it would have like two points. But this is actually the average, the hourly average. And it actually is a culmination of a bunch of different measurements. So like this is all the measurements it took in the 8 hours of sleep that I got last night. So you can see there's multiple data points that are now tracking here to be able to see your nightly average. Now, what I do is I just tend to track just my HRV just through the night. And if you wear the watch outside of sleep, it will actually have a lot more data points in here. It'll just continue to track before you fall asleep and after you fall asleep. So since I just wear my Apple Watch to bed currently, just to sort of track some of these metrics, I actually go in and I delete out. And the way you do that is go into show on all data, and if there was a sleeping point that wasn't when you were asleep, you just swipe to the left and delete it out. I usually put my Apple Watch on about an hour before bed and then take it off at some point after, so that I can see my actual nightly average for heart rate variability, because that's the better trend to track. And currently Apple doesn't separate out what your nightly HRV value was versus everything else. But the bigger thing is that this will actually flow into primary apps like Athlytic, and Athlytic is one of the better ones that takes into account your sleep, your heart rate variability, which determines, like you see here, your recovery and the exertion level of each workout. So you can see in the middle left here, under the 40%, you can see that it says 33 milliseconds. Now, my recovery score here is skewed because I only started recently doing this, and previously it was pulling data from just generic heart rate information from other devices I was wearing, so it hasn't been completely up to date. So this 33 milliseconds, you can see that that is exactly the average that you got from the Apple Watch itself. The other interesting thing is when you go into sleep, to be able to, you go in here to see the data, you go all the way down to the bottom and you have your metrics here, and you can see all the data points. So this is how many data points it actually took of heart rate variability throughout the night's sleep. And so it just sort of snapshots it over completely to the Athlytic app. And now you have a clear picture of both your average throughout the night as well as your max, your peaks, your valleys, and all your data points all together. Plus you can see the culmination of the data from other aspects that the Apple Watch was pulling. So Athlytic just literally just takes whatever data is available and summarizes it well for you. So Athlytic is probably the most comprehensive all-around app to use with your Apple Watch if you want information. So that's where you see it. And that's, so basically, A, you can see all the data here at the bottom of the sleep page, and B, it actually makes it useful information, unlike what the Apple Watch is currently not providing. It makes it useful information because you can see it estimate a recovery estimate based on your averages. It takes about 30 days to get accurate averages. The other app that, friends of mine, Marcus specifically, likes a lot is the Training Today. It takes into account the impact of your workouts on your heart rate variability, and it actually is needing you to wear your Apple Watch all the time because it's going to use all heart rate variability aspects. I mean, it's going to use your data points from in the day, during the day, to estimate how hard your workout was on you. So it'll see a change in heart rate variability, and it'll show you after your workout the impact. Right now, I don't even know what some of these information pieces mean because I haven't been using this app, but if you wear your watch all the time and you use this app for a multiple of days, it'll start to make sense, and you'll see somewhat of an impact score from every hard workout to the next, and how it is affecting your real-time heart rate variability, because now the Apple Watch is actually taking heart rate variability not just at night, but in multiple data points that it can possibly pull. So those are the ways that you actually take advantage of this new calculation, of this new range of data points. So there you have it. I'm so glad for a couple of friends named Chuck and Marcus that actually turned me on to this idea and this concept, and now you can actually use these third-party apps in a much more thorough analysis of your recovery from night to night just by turning on a simple setting, and all of a sudden you're getting a bunch more tracking. This does not, unfortunately, solve all of the Apple Watch woes, because there's still no built-in quality analysis of the heart rate variability night to night, or even, although they're tracking sleep stages now, there's not even a quality analysis of the sleep that you've gotten, and there's still no deep analysis of training analytics that many of the other watches are now, or have been for a long time, supplying. But it's a small step to take to be able to turn your Apple Watch into a much more thorough tracker of this primary physiological measurement if you are absolutely dead set on using and owning an Apple Watch. So with that, it's the Fit Gear Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.